Get the job you want and make sure your resume doesn't keep you from making that job connection. We have career coach Sarah Uchytil here with us with some expert guidance to avoid making some of those common resume mistakes. So I think first off, this is a big one that a lot of people wonder, how often should they be updating their resume? Because if you put it off too long, it gets hard to remember all those facts.
Absolutely, and I always recommend updating your resume at least once a year because it's great to capture those new skills that you've learned, those new accomplishments. So now it's the end of 2021. This would be a great time for you to go through and take an inventory. You know, what have you learned this year? What have you accomplished? And update your resume. Also update your LinkedIn profile too.
Oh my God, I just literally did that
good.
2 days ago. I was like, oh no, I forgot, I've got to update my LinkedIn.
Yes.
And so obviously a lot of us, when we are going through our resume and everything, we tend to say the same things over and over again. So what are some of those common words or phrases to try to avoid on your resume?
Yes, any passive language like responsible for, make sure you replace that with an active verb, managed, supervised, led. Some other common mistakes would be making sure that you don't use too much business lingo, business jargon, in your wheelhouse, and also making sure that you don't over promote yourself. Those are some things too.
My favorite question when you're doing a job interview is, what are your weaknesses?
Yes.
What's the best way for people to handle something like that? Because obviously, like you just said, you don't want to over promote yourself, but then you obviously don't want to make yourself look bad either.
So a weakness would be saying, okay, if I learned something new, if you didn't know how to use Zoom before the pandemic, making sure that you say, well, this is how I got up to speed on this technology, or maybe you learned a new customer relationship management database, or maybe you learned a new programming language. Those could be some other things that you could say, well, this is something that I didn't have, but this is what I have now.
And what are some of those other common resume mistakes that you see often?
Other common resume mistakes is having an objective instead of having a professional summary. Also having an out-of-date contact information if you have an old email or an old phone number. Also an unprofessional email address. Make sure you have like a Gmail account. That would be good, just so all your contact information and your job search information goes to one resume or goes to one email address too.
Yeah, that's definitely important. You don't want to be sifting through a lot of different emails. I know we've all been guilty of that one before. Yes. And I think a lot of people wonder when they're applying for something, it obviously is always attached to the resume, but gives you the option to attach that cover letter. What are your thoughts on if people should be doing that cover letter?
Well, specifically if the job requires a cover letter, make sure that you attach a cover letter. You want to make sure that you know how to follow instructions. The other thing too, it is great to attach a cover letter because that helps you stand out in the crowd. It is a very competitive job market right now, so any additional edge you can give yourself is very important.
Definitely some good advice there. Thanks so much, Sarah, for taking the time to be here with us.
Thanks, Grace.
Kelly, I'm going to send it over to you.
Great tips to make sure that you're getting that resume updated.